Well, howdy there, folks. It's your old grandpa. How you doing? How you doing? Well, I hope that you decided you're gonna come on in and sit a spell and maybe have a little bit of corn pone. Want a little corn pone, or you want are you wanting some of that some good old awesome possum gravy? Yeah, Bob. I tell you what, now that's some so good eating. I'm telling you that right now. Now that's how what kept me going for such a long time. Awesome possum gravy, some good old grits, and not to mention some chicken and some gizzards and of course now possum you can get it in any way you want. You want baked, boiled, fried, you know, fricasseed and all kinds of stuff, like that. But not to mention, to have some of that good old pork chops and stuff like that, and bacon and all that. See, all these people they just put too much in to saying, now you gotta watch what you eat. Well, that's kind of true. You do. You just don't go putting just any darn thing in your mouth. I can tell you that right now. No, you just don't. Because if you do, I'm going to tell you right now, you're making a big mistake. Who knows? Some idiot might just go out there and start picking some of them pokeberries and sticking them in their mouth. And that stuff will kill you dead. You just don't put every little thing in your mouth. But anyway, but poke salad, that's a good eating there. Now, I would like to tell you about little old Mr. Wyatt Earp. Now you may sit there and say, "Now, Grandpa, how in the world did you ever know Wyatt Earp? I mean, you surely ain't that old." Well, I got news for you. I've been around for a long time. That's right. Like I said, it's just good eating. It's all them good victuals that keeps me going. Now, I ain't gonna go into the whole thing here with you. I just trying to give some people some chance. If they want to hear more, well, they can just speak up, and not be shy, and say that they do. And if not, well, whatever kind of questions that you have, just ask them. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy. Just don't be just sticking off to the side there. Uh, now, no, now it was back in the 1800s. Yeah, I know you're just shaking your head, but yeah. Met Wyatt Earp when he was just a little feller. Oh, I don't know. I guess he was probably about, maybe, I'm guessing, they all look alike to me, but I'm guessing he's probably about maybe 6 years old. And it was just that I knew his daddy and his mama, you know, be it through some friends of mine, and I was just kind of passing through. And I remember that I ran into them, and well, let's see here. Well, I'm trying to read here, there, young feller. Danny is stating, I'm watching, trying to pick the seeds and stems out this homegrown. Okay, the homegrown, so you growing your homes around there. That's pretty good. Hope you water 'em pretty good there, young feller. Yep, and let's see, where was? Oh yeah, the Earps. Well, sit there and remember when that little Wyatt Earp, came around. And I sit there and I said, well, looky there. Now, there's a string bean if I ever did see one, just like he sprouted up out of the ground. Boy, he was a skinny thing. I asked him, I said, what have y'all been feeding that boy? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, they was sitting there saying, well, we've been feeding him chicken and some potatoes and some corn and some green beans. I said, well, that all sounds good, but is that all y'all be eating around here? And he said, yeah. I said, well, you want to put some meat on that boy. I said, boy, you can count his ribs. Well, needless to say, they ended up, they kind of, I guess they took up my advice because I remember it was about 10, 15, 20 years later, I ran into that boy, and I swear that feller must have been, been eating something pretty good because he was all filled out. Now, he wasn't fat, but now Wyatt, I remember he almost got himself killed. That's right. He was hanging around some old whippersnappers. To me, they were whippersnappers, but some of y'all might think different. But it was that old hung around what's his name? That stupid doctor. Uh, uh, oh, what was that guy's name? Anyway, that dang Doc Holiday. That's what it was. But that old Holiday was nothing but a guy. He was on that drugs and stuff. He is a drinker, and boy was he a drinker. Cough up a storm, I'm telling you what. But I remember he was hanging around with him, and there was some dude that had it in with Doc Holliday. Now I was in a saloon. I was there in Tucson, Arizona. Yeah. And I remember one day that as I was sitting there at the bar, I had taken a few little slugs. I didn't do a lot of drinking, not in those days. I just kind of took it easy and stuff, just a few little drinks, and that was about the end of it. But I just got there and just started on my first drink, right? Well, old Doc Holliday, he come in and sit down at one of them tables, and next thing you know, he got him a friendly little game of poker going on. And next thing you know, it's old Wyatt comes in. He come over, sit next to me, and talked a little spell, just small talk, about the weather and how's his pappy and mammy doing and stuff like that. And next thing you know, there's a big hoop fly going on over at Doc Holliday's table. Well, I looked over, and next thing you know, there's someone over hollering saying he was a cheating. Now, I tell you what. Now, Doc Holliday, he never liked anyone calling him a cheater, even if he was cheating. He didn't like it. And of course, needless to say, he was cheating. He had them cards up his sleeves. He'd always have some extra aces, if you please, up his sleeves, right? Well, he was swearing up and down to the fella he wasn't cheating, and he'd better take back them words, and so next thing you know, well, while he's swearing that he wasn't cheating, it turned around, one of them cards come falling out of his sleeve while he was just flinging his arms around and doing this number and all this and this and that, right? Well, let me tell you something now. Now, that Doc Holliday, he had a little derringer he had in his other sleeve. And next thing you know, he do a whip like that, and he had that little double barrel Derringer over and under, and he was fixing to take a shot at that fella. Well, now Wyatt, he come over there real quick, and he sit there and said, "Now there ain't gonna be none of this, and you gonna break it out." He said, "Doc, now you just hey, just apologize, make it right, give the guy his money back." And of course, Doc Holliday wasn't going to do it, and he's sitting there coughing up blood and everything now. Just I didn't want to get around there and get that stuff all slung up around on me. Well, next thing you know, there's Wyatt. He got his gun out, and Holiday got his little Derringer still out, and the other guy pulled his guns out. So I'm sitting there looking at these fools, and I'm sitting there like, boy, I tell you what, when I get done here, it get done, and that old Wyatt, he gonna get himself in a half a bit of trouble. Well, I turned around now. Oh yeah, hey, there's what's that guy's name there? J Stinson. Hello there's a whippersnapper. Glad, yeah. And so anyway, let me see, where was I? Oh, anyway, they're all were fussing and carrying on and getting ready to shoot one another. So I grabbed my mug of beer and I took it and I threw it over at the hit Wyatt in the back of the head, and he fell down, not dead, of course, but he fell down, and bears slapped around all over them, and then next thing you know, I grabbed someone else's bear and I sat there and took it and slung it and hit Doc Holliday upside the head, and then I went over to that young feller that had his 6 shooter out, and I sit there and I told that boy, I said, "Now listen, boy, I want to tell you what. Now you better put that thing back in your holster, take your money, and get on out of here. Skedaddle, get on, shoot, get out. You got your money. These two are out of it, and I'll hand to them. Now you get yourself a going now before I end up whooping you from here to God's green tarnation. So he get there grumbling and fussing and everything, and he walks out the door. And so I grab old Hot Doc Holiday and I put him in a chair, set him up, and same with Wyatt. And they was finally starting to come to. And I sit there and say, "Now you little, listen here, you little brats, I said, "And that's what y'all was acting like, a bunch of brats." So, I said, "Now you boys better get yourselves straightened up, 'cause you're gonna get a little bit more of these hangings here in just a little bit, 'cause Grandpa knows what he's doing. And y'all boys quit acting like fools." Oh, and yeah, there's the music man. Yeah, the music man is here. See, I got these specs on, and it's still hard to see with them. They don't make specs like they used to be. I'm telling you right now. But old Wyatt, he sit there and was starting to give me some lip, so I popped him upside the head. Said, "Boy, now I know your mama, and I know your papa." And I said, "Now don't make me go to them, boy." I said, "You know better than mess with me." And I looked at that Doc Holiday and I said, "Boy, you're almost ready in the grave anyway, so you ain't got." If I was you, I'd keep myself just out of trouble, because you're going to end up in the grave a lot sooner. And I'm saying, you with all them drugs and stuff and the drinking you doing and smoking them cigars like the way you're doing, you ain't gonna last you very long in that area. Well, he sitting there just looked at me. He wouldn't say nothing. He knew better. 'Cause he heard of old Grandpa Silas, that's for sure. Well, I taught him a good lesson right there. Now, Wyatt, I told that boy, I says, "Now, you better learn to control yourself and learn how to do some thinking." And Wyatt burping, erping, you know. I said, you boys, I said, both of you got some burping and erping going on. I said, now you need to stop this crap right now, or I'm just going to get just real riled up, and you ain't going to want that. I said, besides, I still got old Bessie. Now, when I mention old Bessie, I'll tell you right now. Well, that old Doc Holliday, he heard of old Bessie, and he heard about them jalapeno pepper seeds. Yeah, and he remembers my dog Gimpy. Now, Gimpy was never very far away from me. You know, all I had to do was just do a whistle, and boy, that dog come running. But I didn't have him with me that day, you know. Uh, it says, what's that? I am doing no shave November. Okay. Sound like a winner there, okay. Yeah, now, anyway, now where was I again? I get to talking over here. You go to talk to somebody and I get sidetracked. It don't take much to do that with me these days. But anyway, that old Bessie and them jalapeno pepper seeds, they do all kinds of wonders. It can change a person's life like you would never believe once they get a good taste of it. Yeah, but yeah, I'll tell you right now, there is a lot I could say about old Doc Holliday. You know, he was okay if he wasn't drunk or high on his what did they call that that opium. That boy was screwed up. He didn't even half the time he didn't even know where he was, and if you hit him, sometimes he didn't even know you did. He couldn't feel it. Boy, I tell you what, that boy messed up. Now Wyatt. Now, he never learned his lesson. I told that boy stay away from him. He's gonna get in trouble. Well, they ain't got to hanging around to them others, I'm gonna tell you. Well, y'all already know the story about what happened to old White. That boy never learned. He thought just because he had a badge that made him indestructible. You know, it's like, boy, he was nuts. He asked for what he got. Felt sorry for him, but your poor mom and pop and his cousins and such. Yeah, tell you what. Now, so let me ask any of you if you got any questions for old Grandpa Silas here. Yeah, yeah, I'm awaiting here. Yeah, and you know you have to be patient with me because I can't see very good with these specs. I try to do my best. Now, old Warhorse, he said he could show me how to do all this. So just bear with me if I get it all straightened out. So how us old timers are. Yeah. So any of you youngins got some questions for old Grandpa? Got any questions? Got any questions for Grandpa Silas? Now, mind you, I've been around for a long time. How are things in your life? Well, I tell you what, it go pretty good at times. Sometimes the old and big old, gets to bother me, and the corns on my feet, and stuff. But I'm doing all right. Still eating some good victuals. That awesome possum gravy. Boy, I live and breathe for awesome possum gravy, especially on some mashed taters, and have some fried possum, some possum gizzards, and you have some mustard greens and some corn pone and some good old sweet tea. Oh yeah, Oh, that is just so good. And there's some good eating around here, and there's some other good victuals and stuff. You'll live a long time. What is my funniest one-liner saying? Well, actually, I guess you'd say, "You dang fool! You dang idiot!" Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, yeah. Well, if I can get a hold of some more, I can see if I could get old Warhorse. Maybe he might get off of his duff enough long enough to get it all wrapped up. We'd have to see what the laws are about sending it through the packaging to the mail thing, you know. But we'll see if we can do that. Maybe keep it fresh. But oh boy, that stuff make you live a long time. You gotta, and let me tell you something. And you cook all that stuff, around in some good hot melted there bacon grease. Mm, mm. There ain't nothing good if it ain't fried in that. Oh yeah. I tell you what. Now, and I also like, once, I would eat my corn on the cob, but I ain't got no teeth anymore, so I don't have to scrape it off of the cob. But I still like my corn. Yeah, you gotta have that because it's good eating. When back in the day when I had my teeth, I'd take it and just smother it in butter and put a little salt on it. Boy, just chawing down like a beaver on wood, boy. I tell you what, oh, I love my corn. You clean your colon out, that's for sure. So you always want to have some good corn nearby. Yeah, 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 have them teeth. That's right. Now, when you eating corn on the cob and you got teeth, now you want to be sure there's you do it you turn it this way. Don't turn it the opposite way. You go it this way. That way. Like in front of you, turning it in front of me. Just go at it. Pretend you're a beaver on a tree. You know. Yeah. Now, usually what I do is sometimes I'll take that corn and I'll sit there and put it in a hand meal grinder and sit there and grind it up real good after I got it cooked. And then I'll take some butter and put it in while it's still nice and hot and, melt it down and salt it. But I like my corn fresh, you know. I don't like to wait, go down to the store and that's been in there so many odd days. I like my corn fresh. That I do. And I also like a little bit of that Mexican hot sauce, with them what do they call that damn stuff? Them red peppers, them dang what's that name? Whoa, never mind. You're over watching your dang TV. You old dang idiot. Oh, he's all right. I'm just no fart. That's all there is. Hey, when you get as old as me, well, now, dang, I'll tell you right now, you'll be just like me, just cantankerous. My mother and my papa, when I was a little boy, said I was a pretty stubborn. Said I was stubborn as a mule. Let's see. Well, Mr. Musicer says my favorite food fruit food is sushi. Su, hold on here just a minute. Let me get that thing over and sushi, and sesame chicken. Well, I don't know about the shush, whatever that might be. But that chicken sure sounds good. Mm-mm. Yeah, yeah, that was always a good chicken. Mm-mm. That, that's a mighty good eating. And if you sit there and you take some of that corn pone, and when it's just about done, when you're baking it, right? When it's just about done, you take some bacon, put it on top of it. Mm. Oh, it is so good. You have one choice for dinner. You choose squirrel or rabbit. Well, now they both taste good, right? But see, here's the thing that old grandpa learned a long time ago is that, see, squirrel may taste good, but there ain't much meat on it. Now, a rabbit, on the other hand, oh yeah, now you get some meat on that. Tastes like chicken. And if you ain't got any chicken, get you rabbit and fry it up, and boy, I tell you what, you could do rabbit up, fry it up, and serve it to people. And do you know what? Well, you kind of like guess it, right? Is that people ain't gonna tell the difference. You could even tell them a little fib. You could even tell them that's fried chicken. You like your chicken this way? Well, they're gonna sit there and get to eating on that, and they ain't gonna know the difference. I did that with some people once. That's right. Fried me up a mess of rabbit, and see, people, and I knew some friend of mine. I knew they didn't like rabbit, so but that's what I had. So I figured, well, I'll just tell them that's chicken. I told them I was chicken, and yep, they ate it, and they loved it. I waited a month or so later to tell them what they really ate. um, well, now if you're taking squirrel, and you're gonna can it, well, the thing is, you gotta have a lot of them, but you can also throw in some fillers with it, I suppose, if you took you some vegetables, you sit there and you put it in there, in the jar with it, like little pieces of potato and some carrots and some garlic, and some onion and all that kind of stuff. Boy, mm. It is some good eating, I'm telling you. But see, if you didn't put all that other stuff with it, I mean, all you do is just be torturing yourself because you'll be taking bites of it and you'll be, oh, that tastes so good. But yet you're not getting full. That's why my mammy, when I was a youngin', now I'll tell you right now, she was one who would cook like she was cooking for an army. And she didn't, none of us kids, none of us, we never went hungry. In fact, if we got any notion that we wasn't feeling like eating very much, well, boy, we never left that table till she made sure we ate every bite. She always heaped it up on our plates. So yeah, might have had hard times back then, but I tell you what, we always ate and we ate good. And when you living out in the woods, I tell you what, now, see, a lot of people, they go out to the grocery store and they all used to getting their beef, and their chicken and their pork and stuff. But when you living way out in the woods, out in the boonies, I'll tell you right now, you learn to live off the land, and especially you learn to raise your own food. Like your gardens and not to mention your chickens and your pigs and what have you. I mean cows and some horses. Now the horses wasn't for eating; they was for getting places. So you get from one place to another. But you might have been slow on getting there, but you got there. That's the thing it is. A lot of people don't know that. These days they not they too dependent upon gas. Well, I think these days these what was it these young whippersnappers they called it woke. I think they need to get wakened up. But anyway, if you was to sit there and take away the gas and all this, they wouldn't know what to do on how to get to where they're going, 'cause they don't know if they're coming or going. So there you go. But there's people that don't know about raising their own food, but that's not always their fault. Yeah, yeah. But I sit there being around the block, I'll tell you. Now, I also, a lot of people don't blame me, but I was. I'll tell you the truth. Gosh, I tell you, may I be hit by lightning if I'm not telling the truth. Now, Mr. Abraham Lincoln, now, see, a lot of people think that old Mr. William Booth did that. Well, he was going to, but that guy that everyone thinks his name was Jesse James, he had it done, had Mr. Lincoln shot by another dude because old Booth was getting cold feet, and they was in that some kind of group called the Knights of the Golden Circle or something of that nature. Ask me, it was probably about the dumbest name they ever come up with. It's like some kids playing fort, or something. But anyway, but I tell you one thing, that old guy, that William Booth, I sit there, I sit there and met him one time. And now that fella, I tell you what, now they called him an actor. I tell you what, he couldn't have acted his way out of a paper bag. So that's why I can even tell you even that much more as a reason why I know for a fact that fella did not do the shooting. Heck, he wasn't even fast. Man, even a turtle could catch that boy. I tell you what, but that boy was, he was good on sitting there telling you some big whoppers about how good he was on killing Lincoln, and I sit there and said, boy, I know better. Says I know your boss, Mister Jesse James. That was Mister Dalton. He, everyone thought that it was Jesse James. That's not his name. His last name was Dalton. But we all just called him Jesse, because he didn't want nobody knowing his real name and all that. And that's another story altogether. Let's see who we got here. We got Skinner. There. Well, howdy there, Skinner. You just welcome. If you anyone wants to ask me some questions, go ahead. Don't be shy now. Just have yourself a seat. Just to pick you out a place and have a seat there. And you want some corn pone? Want some sweet cakes or maybe some of that awesome possum gravy smothered on some fried possum gizzards. Mm, that's some good eating. Maybe some little bit of corn, and some mustard greens. What do you do with use with experience that you did when you were young? Oh, let's see. Let me get this right here. What do you wish youth would experience that you did? Well, I tell you what, I'd like to see them, learning the hard way. Like, no, none of this, 'cause they didn't have phones back in those days, cell phones, or none of that, right? And they didn't have none of these fancy gizmos. Now, anyone's mama and papa would sit there, if they loved the kids, they made sure they put them to work, keep them busy, keep them out of trouble. And they let them do their little playing that time. That's the way my mama and my papa did. But I tell you right now, I sit there and I had to work. There wasn't no slacking. And if these kids would do an honest day's work, these parents who say they love the kids, put their kids to work, do an honest day's labor, and as a reward, let them have their little time for play or whatever. But see, you had to work hard and to be taught about responsibilities, instead of all this other weird notions that they do. That's why these kids get in trouble. These youngins get in trouble. Like if someone saw my one video, I taught one young whippersnapper a big lesson because he was rude. That's right. You got to learn to teach them manners. Now, they got to learn manners. And so I taught, a lot of you youngins, back when I was growing up, through the years, after I left home and got married and all that. And, well, thank you kindly, JJ. Thank you kindly. Now, you gotta stay on these youngins. You gotta stay on them. Love them, but don't take no guff off of them either. Now, when they getting out of hand, you don't just stick them in a corner. You don't stick them in a corner. You let them have a nice visit out there to the woodshed. Yeah. Sometimes, now, yeah, we was our parents and stuff. They was hard on us, but they had to be, 'cause them were hard times, and we was busy and learned to say yes, ma'am, and no, sir, and such, to watch our p's and q's. Always say ma'am and sir, and always respect your elders and things, and help people when they need help and stuff, but none of this just free handout stuff because I wanted stuff like they do today. No, you had to work for it. And we were taught about the value of a dollar by a hard day's work. And by George, I tell you what, that when we were old enough to able to, we could go out and get us a job. But working around a farm and stuff, I tell you what, now that was work. It wasn't no slacking, and if you ever had a notion to, well, I tell you what, right now, I can remember my papa. I remember what he did to me one day. I decided I was going to, just now I learned my lesson now, all right, but I remember, let's see, I was probably about, I don't know, I was about 15, something like that, around 15, 16 years old. I decided, I did not want to go and get out and sit there out in the field, to harvest the corn. So, and this was probably right in the middle of the hottest part of the day. Now, my papa, I tell him called him Pappy. Now, Pappy, he didn't, well, he wasn't around that particular time, that day. And he was doing something else, and then I looked around, see he wasn't there, so I scooted as fast as I could go down to about 4 or 5 miles down to this one place out there. We would just call it the holler, and there was a swimming hole. And I went down there, and there was some of my buddies out there. It was a hot summer, So, well, I got out there, and we was out there swimming around too. But and then I looked at the time, by looking up at how far the sun had went over, and I said, "Well, boys," I said, "it's time for me to get home. So maybe I can get there before my pappy gets home." So, well, it was almost dark time I got home, and my pappy, his face was red as a beet, and he was madder than a wet hen. And I remember he said, "Boy," he says, "I want to know what you've been doing today." I said, "Well, I was out there harvesting the corn." He says, "You may have started, but where were you afterwards?" I says, "Well," he said, "Boy, don't you lie to me, 'cause if you lie to me, it's going to go worse on you. So turn around." I just sit there and say, "Okay, okay, okay." I went to the swimming hole, but it was hot, Pappy. Well, let me tell you something. He says, "Hot." He says, "Nah, you think that was hot? That ain't hot." He said, "But your butt's fixing to get real hot." So he grabbed me, he yanked me out and took me outside to the woodshed. And I'm going to tell you what, he laid into me, he put some blisters on my rear. But I swear that it was smoking in there. That was, man, it was hot. I mean, that's the way it felt. It was hot. But I learned my lesson. And he did that cause my one brother and my two sisters, they 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 wasn't anywhere near about to where they'd hear me. He wanted to make sure of that, and that was take me out to the woodshed. Let's see, Mr. Music says that it's close to my age. Uh, oh, ouch, yeah. I'll tell you what. Now, if it wouldn't if it wasn't for my pappy being around right there present, I would have been saying more than ouch. But then if I would have done that, he would have got the lye soap and put it in my mouth and scrubbed it real good. And my mammy now she was one you also had to watch out for. Now if Pappy wasn't around and she was needing something done and she asked you to do something, you better sit there and, boy, you better pipe up and say, "Yes, ma'am." And if she asks you to jump, you would just ask her real politely, "Well, how high? How high do you want me to jump?" If she told you to go jump off the cliff, you better do it. Because I tell you what, she was one you never messed around with. No, no, no. You never messed around with Mammy. And my pappy, you never ever sit there and pull crap on him, 'cause you get yourself in a serious hassle of trouble. And because I remember, those days, and I tell you what, I wish more young people We learn the experience of a hard day's work, responsibilities, not just expecting handouts. That's one thing we did not get was a handout when we was growing up. We was poor. We had plenty of food. We had a roof over our head, but by other people's standards, we was what you call dirt poor, and that's the way it is. Yep. And but if you got, long as you have food on your table, got a roof over your head, and a good place to sleep, and you have the ear of the good Lord, then you just fine. You'd be what you call deeply blessed, if you have those things. Now, it's good to maybe have some other nice things, but not given to you just on a free handout. You got it's best to work for it. That's right. A lot of youngins, and they think you ought to just give them respect. Well, I tell you now, when we was growing up and stuff, we learned that if you wanted respect, you had to give respect, and you had to learn about respect by sitting there doing things for others as well as for your family, and about keeping your word. When you shook somebody's hand and gave you a word, that was better than any credit system that they got now. That was the best. That when see handshakes and your word was your bond. That meant something back in them days. Now it don't mean diddly squat. You can go to a bank and nowadays and sit there and swear and promise that you gonna pay whatever back. If you got a loan, well, you ain't getting nothing. So the best thing to do is just learn to do a hard day's work. Now, don't mean doing a hard day's work necessarily mean going out to these office jobs and stuff, but I mean, if you got a farm, and you got animals to take care of as well as your family and things, that's hard work. Especially during when you're getting around fall and stuff, taking a split in the wood. During the summer you go out and chop down some trees and you cut it up and you let it season, and everything, and then you always make sure you have plenty of wood for winter or for also for cooking. But during the summer we would cook outside because it's too hot to cook inside because you cooked off your wood stove or your fireplace. So, but I tell you what, them were the days. It hard work, back-breaking work, but it was honest work. And nowadays you don't get that. Yeah, just don't forget a parachute. Now there was one time. Now that reminded me there, Skinner. Now I remember there was one time my pappy, my mother, my mammy, she told me. She said when your pappy gets home, he gonna lay into your hide because I'm not gonna go into what I did. That's a real embarrassment there, but anyway, it wasn't good. So she said instead of walloping on me that she gonna tell my pappy. So when he did get home, well, see, I was a little prepared. See, in my mind, I was prepared. I took me an old I took some of these what were moss, that moss, and I took some tree bark and stuff, and I put the moss on the one side there and shoved it down in my drawers, you know, so that way it would cushion, my little back door, you know. Yeah. Well, I tell you what now. See now, Pappy, he never always used the same method on wearing your rear end out. Now I tell you that. But you never knew what he was going to use. Now he was going to use, y'all would call a paddle, or he would just take an old razor strap and cut loose on your rear. Now he didn't hit you just willy nilly, And he'd go just right after what he was aiming for, and that was your rear end, your butt, and but it turned around that day. He turned around, he sit there and he got a hold of the paddle, and he let cut loose on me. And I tell you what, down that I felt it. That moss and that tree bark did not help one bit. It did not cushion it. Maybe if I'd have known that there was such a thing as maybe parachutes, I could have probably got one of them and stuffed them in my drawers, Uh, that was the nice thing about back in the day. Kids actually got disciplined if they did something out of line, and depending on how bad the deed, depended on how bad the punishment. That's right. That's right, Skinner. That is absolutely right. That's the way it was. People don't teach these kids these days. Now, I tell you what, to me, it seems like when a parent shows their love to their kids, that love is shown not just in feeding them, and making sure that they're clothed and got a roof over their heads and a place to sleep and a way to stay warm during the winter and such, And more than that, oh yeah, I mean, you got to teach them. You got to teach them, about consequences of one's actions, and that get their attention, and you lay into the hide. You ain't gonna kill them. Just don't beat them. You just lay into them and get wear out their dust. Don't go slapping them around, hitting them with your hands and stuff. It ain't the way to go about it. But you gotta let them know right from wrong. And then you're always leaving it to the schools, and these schools are a joke from what I hear. I would, if I was a young man and I had a wife and kids, I would make sure that I did some homeschooling, or maybe one of them private schools instead of these old public schools. It's a joke and a disgrace to this country. That's right. And these youngins, they all confused. I've been hearing, where they want to be called by their pronouns. Half of them don't know if they're a guy or if they're a girl. They don't know if they're a dog or a cat. I mean, some even a tree. I'll tell you what, that's some goofy thinking, if you ask me. But see, I mean, these kids are all confused and they allowing these stupid teachers to come in. They're not even teachers. A correct teacher would be concerned about teaching these kids their ABCs, their arithmetics, and also their history and such. Not all this other whatever stuff that don't even make sense to me. Goofy goobers, now I like that. Yeah, but that's a good one, Mister Music. Yeah, that's right. that be right. That'd be very right. Goofy goobers, you know. Now these people today don't rightly understand how things are. You got to learn to appreciate the simple things of life, and you got to enjoy it. But a lot of people don't have an idea what the meaning of life is. They think the meaning of life is going out playing your video games 24/7, or going out to a drinking drunken party 24/7 if you allowed them. In these colleges, some of they go to supposed to be educated, and then turn around, they're about the only education they get is on whether they like vodka or Southern Comfort or Jim Beam or something of that nature. And they end up getting themselves in trouble. And then even with the way everything is, even when they go to college and get out, they don't they don't even stick with what they were going into college for. They come out with it all confused, you know. And I always had to remember, where there was one professor fella came up to me, and we were talking and chit chatting and shooting the breeze, and then he sit there, he was trying to tell me that there was no such a thing as God and or heaven or hell. Now I said, now okay, I got something here. Let me say this. I mean, put your money where your mouth is. All right. I said, if there isn't one, then why don't you just hold your breath, and see if you can hold it for as long as you can, or maybe let me give you some pokeberries and see if you can take that and find out if there's a real God or if there's a heaven or hell. I said, I bet you find out real quick now, won't you? He looked at me like he thought I was plumb crazy, and I said, well, now you may think I'm just some old fart, and stuff, but let me tell you, see, now just because I can't see God don't mean I don't know He ain't real, because you're looking at a miracle there, bub. That's for sure. Well, that's just the only thing is, you get people get crazy notions, right? Oh yeah. See, sick all them kids nowadays out in the woods with nothing but the clothes on their backs, and none of them would survive. Yeah, you got that. You you got that right, Skinner. Yeah. They take their iPhones and call their mommies crying. That's pretty much it. Yeah, but they would let old Grandpa Silas have them for about just 2 months out of the summer. Way out in the woods, I bet I could teach them real quick and in a hurry about what surviving and what honest day's work is. I bet it could. Yeah, they wouldn't like it, but either now some of them I would make them, and there'd probably be a few that they'd just be totally broken, 'cause they'd be blibbering, blabbering, blubbering, goofy goobers like Mister Music was pointing out there, goofy goobers. I like that. All right, see where we go. They will until the phone battery died. Yeah, I remember the days when the phones, used to you just take it up like this and talk into it, right? And then I remember the rotary ones. You just dial. But boy, nowadays they got all these fancy gizmos that's just outright just plumb confusing. That's for sure. Just as confusing as can be. Confusing as these youngsters that don't know if they're he's, she's, or a dog, or cat, or skunk, or what. Sometimes I think a lot of them might be skunks, because, everything that they're spilling out and stuff stinks mighty bad. Mighty powerful stink. Woo! Well, but yeah. Uh, See how long it takes for someone codependent on them electronics, and see if they can, excuse me, figure out how to camp out in the woods and make a meal. uh, JJ says, what was that, JJ? I would like to hear Grandpa Silas sing Country Boy Will Survive. Yeah. Um, yeah, I got Mr. Music said, thank God I'm a country boy. That's right. Yeah, yeah, that's right. And it would be most viewed Survivor Series, Skinner. Yeah, Bob. Now, you know, I sit there and I look back over the years. Being through a whole lot and seen a whole lot, and I can tell you one thing's for most sure is that these whippersnappers today. Now there's some good ones out there. I know there's some of them that know about work and honesty and integrity. But a majority of them out there, they expect that, you just got to give them respect, and their idea of respect is give them free money, get them a free house, and you get some people because they want to sit there and think, well, whatever happened in the past, like, what was it, the one who's into slavery, that was into slavery back in the day, a long time ago. Well, they think because what happened to the others, their ancestors, that everyone owes them today. But see, I know a lot of the black folk today, the elders who believe in doing an honest day's work, and in honesty and integrity, didn't sit around and look for no handouts and didn't expect nothing from nobody. You had to work for it. Now they could tell you that. But these youngins, they want to sit there and holler and hoop about what's that word? Reparations or something like that. It's like, if they used to mention that to me, I'd say, why don't you just get a job? Yeah, get a life. Learn about honesty and integrity and honor. That's a crazy world that we live in. And we got one fool stuck up in the office up there. I tell you honestly, I don't. I think with David, since they've been talking about these youngins, and stuff. These youngins don't know if they're a tree or a dog or a cat or he or she. I think that one up there must be a skunk because he stinks. Ugh, that boy. Well, he ain't a boy. I don't know what you want to just say. Just he has to be a skunk because he sure stinks. Yeah, got and his handlers stink too because they I think some of them think that there must be a dog or a cat or a tree or what. They don't even have know what they are and all that. But see, now there's one. See, what was her name? What's her name? Miss Mrs. Nancy Pelosi. I say Miss Nancy Polecat. Now she's supposed to be older and smarter, but she's about as dumb as it comes. I tell you. But I mean, just because we might people older folk because we don't always mean that we're the smartest thing. I've known some a lot of people might do dumb things. There's been times I have too. And then but the thing is you gotta learn from it. That's right. But always sit there and know what's good and what's not. Know the difference between right and wrong. That's what we all always gotta hang on to, that knowledge of what's right and what's wrong. You know. Mr. Music says, I know a lot of people that don't have their brains working. That's right. Yeah, they do. That's about the way of it. I'm telling you. Now, Warhorse sit there and he said, now, when you go on live, he says, he said, be sure to ask everyone, if they want to see a little bit more live streams of Grandpa Silas and stuff, just be sure to comment and all this, and if they really like it, he said to tell them, just to not just hit that thumb thingy wingy or whatever, but he said, to hit the ringy dingy thingy, the little bell thing, and share it. Uh, 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 there's a song called Joe Sippy Cup. Uh, well, I guess I'll have to get Warhorse to pull that up for me to let me hear that one. I might not recognize it by that title, but I'll listen for it. Because there's some songs I've heard of, but I don't recognize the titles of them. And they don't. That's another thing too. They don't. They don't have music like they used to. Now, back in the day, it was music. Wasn't none of this. What was it? What do they call it? I think I heard some say hippie hoppy or hippity hoppy or something like that. And then now there was the one they call knock music. Rapping music or something of that nature. I don't understand a bit of that rapping stuff. I really don't. Now, if it was rapping on some wood with some hammer and nails, building something, that I do understand. Hip hop. Yeah, okay. Isn't that where they hop on their hips or something? Imagine makes a lot of popping sound, uh, 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 rap, hip hop, and pop. Dang, I don't know if you're talking about a nursing home on some cool food or what. Uh, Trap music really gets on my nerves. Yeah, as yeah. Uh, yeah, he did. He did, and I even gave it. He encouraged me to try to do some of them Walter Brennan albums. I liked old Walter Brennan. Now he's a good fella, and I liked his stuff. He had some good stories too, and I like that. Yeah. Rap is just people talking fast about things they want to complain about. Well, dang, if that was the case, if that's what it is, I've been rapping for a long. Well, actually, I hadn't. I've been rapping slowly, but I knew some people way back in the day, way back in the late 1800s, that sit there and would do that. We especially when they go to the honky tonks and all that, and the saloons and stuff. Oh yeah. Then they throw a beat to it and get it in everyone's faces. Yeah, I imagine they could do a lot with that tapioca pudding, huh? uh, well, I'm not as young as I used to. Used to be, but now old Grandpa. If there's some stories you would like to hear, if it's something in history, as long as it was in the 1800s on forward, in those time frames. If you'd like to hear about my exploits and stuff and what have you or whatever, just let me know and let Warhorse know, and he tell me, and I'll be more than obliged in helping you out there. You know, and it's getting kind of a little bit late on my bones here, 'cause instead of the clock telling me, my bones is telling me it's time to call it quits. And you see, Warhorse, Warhorse, did you say I hit that red button and then another red? Okay. All right. And anyway, well, it'd be from anywhere from the early 1800s all the way to the present. You know, anything you want to hear or any questions you want to ask. And Warhorse said, that he still got some of my videos up on his channel here. And if you want to check them out and maybe ask some questions on them, you can do so. And now, Grandpa, before I go to bed, usually it's my tradition to have a chaw. That's what Grandpa does. And then I take some, but before I have the chaw, I chew on that for about, 5, 10, 15 minutes and spit her out. But I have to have we have leftovers, and I got to have my awesome possum gravy on them possum gizzards, and a little bite of mashed taters, and some good old corn pone, and a little bite of sweet cakes, sweet tea to wash it down. Also check out my channel to see my videos. Well, yeah, Bob, yeah. Yeah, someone go over that Mr. Music's channel and check it out. Now, Warhorse let me hear some of that youngin's music now. That boy got such going on. Now he got a good voice. He got them pipes here for singing. That's right. So I want to say thank you so very much for popping in, and listen to this old fool, sitting over here talking, and I enjoy y'all's company. I really do, and I hope y'all come back again and set a spell while we sit there and talk and prattle and share and chit chat and shoot the breeze, okay? Well, I want to say thank you so very much for popping in. Now, well, you're welcome there, JJ. I'm glad. Well, you too, there, Mr. Music. Yeah, and Skinner. All y'all, I appreciate. I appreciated Mr. Danny. Danny Staten dropping in, and I appreciate y'all. And y'all can check out each other's channels there. And just drop in anytime now. Y'all stay blessed in everything that you do, and you be careful out there, you know. And I just want to say to you, you got to know that you have to watch yourself very carefully, and be careful of the idiots. There's a lot of idiots running around out there, so you got to watch yourself with them. But I thank you very kindly for dropping in and let me say y'all come back now. You hear?